Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with everything. Oh my gosh. What? Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. I'm just going to leave that. So I haven't filmed in a while, as you guys know. Trying to pop the damn collar. I'm not going to have the Britishies coming after me today in the comments. But, okay, so I've been struggling. I struggled quite a bit the last few days just because of like migraine, depression, some TR stuff going on. I did a video about it, or like a audio about it if you guys are interested. But the point is I'm back. So I'm filming. But yeah, let's just get into it. Let's move along. Oh my gosh. Sorry, it's just been a lot. I feel like it's going to continue to be a lot with this journey, so we'll see. But anyways, let's continue.
Totally. Boo.
Can you talk to me about some of those sentences? Just give me some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, so one of the big things that comes up is diet talk, or people recommending diets is sort of a gentle way that people will, that they think of as gentle, and that I do not experience as gentle, to sort of quote unquote help out a fat person, is that they'll recommend diets. And there are more and less direct ways to do this. The most direct is my personal favorite, which is, I don't actually want to hear everything you think that I should do to stop looking like me. I don't need that. This is what I look like.
Okay, that is horrible. I think that's a horrible thing to say because it's really just bizarre. And it totally throws out any of the health concerns. And oftentimes, too, a lot of times people say things, especially these days, like Aubrey might be dating herself a little bit, but a lot of times people say things in order to give advice in regard to like complaints. You have to remember that a lot of fat people complain a lot. I am trying to keep this collar popped. I am so sorry. It is just not working. It's rebelling against me. But anyways, so that's why people tend to, give advice. If you don't want to hear it, then I guess you can kind of stop complaining. But a lot of people are like, well, I want to complain, or I should be able to complain with friends, and da da da. I get it, but then you're going to have people offer you solutions. So you have to like deal with it. I don't know what else to say. You're going to have to deal one way or the other. And Aubrey, you do complain a lot. So, yeah.
Have you used these sentences personally?
Absolutely. For sure.
Amazing.
With people in my family. I've used them a number of times. And with coworkers and so on and so forth, right?
And did they get easier to say every time?
Absolutely. There's no question. And they get used to hearing them from me, and they're like, I know. Right? Like, so it becomes like a way of setting a boundary that we can all reference as, hey, we all know this is a boundary for me. Knock it off.
Yeah, well, Aubrey's not original at all for throwing off conversations about the TR or throwing off conversations about weight. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. It is something that people do all the time in order to perpetuate the issue. You're not original, Aubrey. This isn't even advice you need to give. Every single person that has dealt with the TR has already done this ad nauseum forever. So I don't know what she thinks she's doing here. I don't even think that that's that great of a way. Not that I'm trying to give advice, but I don't even think she offers something that great. That is like a very weird, jarring thing to say that sounds so clearly DIS ordered to your average person. So I wouldn't suggest that at all. At all.
I am also a fan of, listen, if you want to get extremely...
But then again, maybe I should suggest it. Actually, yes, listen to her, because then everybody around you will know that you have a big problem. Everyone around you will know.
Direct. I have had times in my life where I've said, this is such a hard boundary for me that if you cross it, I'm getting up and leaving, and you can call me when you're ready to talk. and like move on to the next, right? But I think this stuff is, we think of those as unkind responses without really checking in with ourselves about how profoundly unkind it is to approach someone else and tell them to look different so that we're more comfortable, right? Like that is a
It's usually about health, though, Aubrey, especially in your case. It's not just about looks. I think it would be rude to pressure somebody to do like a vanity weight era. Specifically, I think that that would be really stupid. But again, if somebody is, you know, getting significantly overweight, it's a problem. It is something to talk about, especially if they're having certain complaints and issues. Then I think it is something that can possibly be brought up or whatever. You can figure it out. I don't think shaming or being horrible about it is a great way to go about it, but it's kind of like maybe asking if something's wrong, especially if it's like getting out of control or it's happening really quickly. That's bad. It's a bad sign.
wild and deeply self-centered thing to do, and I don't think a direct response is uncalled for in that kind of stuff.
Well, having a boundary, even her like sort of reticence at having a boundary, like I'm gonna get up and leave if we don't talk, if you want to talk about this or whatever. That's not that big of a deal. Like I don't think that that's unkind at all. It's just very neutral. So it's just a super neutral thing. Like it's not really brave. It's not fearful. It's not mean. It's not nice. It's just neutral. It's kind of like what you're using it for. If you're using it to like avoid accountability or try to deflect from real health concerns and this kind of stuff, that's obviously a very negative thing to do. But you're not like, I don't know, even the way that she talks about boundaries there, it's a little bit TR. It's a little bit toxic ritualistic, which, as I try to mention in every video, we're talking about BINGE specifically or primarily, but any of the, the problems around consumption. But in particular, we focus on the one where you're doing too much on this channel. And again, a lot of people within that side of the issue struggle with boundaries. The boundaries are either too rigid or too loose. There's a lot of vacillation too. And so even the way she talks about just getting up and leaving a conversation as if that's unkind, that can seem like an unkind thing to do. It's not. It depends on how you're doing it. If you're doing it all the time for every little thing, then maybe you have too many boundaries. And if it's over something stupid, then I think it kind of loses its power too. If every single thing is a boundary for you, then nothing is a boundary. And I think that's the ultimate like BINGE issue with people is like everything's a boundary, nothing's a boundary. It's just weird. It's like there's no actual, you're not going anywhere. There's no like traction to the logic. It's like, well, and it's like, okay, it's just odd. It's very odd. And I can see it clear as day being outside of it. I can see how that works, where it's very like shapeshifty and it'll change based on the conversation and whatever. And of course, Jameela is just going to reinforce all her bullshit.
I mean, you can also use softer interventions like, you're way more interesting than this conversation, and this conversation about weight loss is really boring. Can we talk about
So that too, like she's framing what she's doing as an intervention of the other person. So it's okay for her to intervene with somebody else, but it's not okay with somebody else to intervene with her. It's not consistent. It's just not working, Aubrey. It's not. Even like I still have a migraine and I still see that you're full of shit. I'm just saying, I'm not even at like top tier. I'm not.
something else?
I know.
Or
This
like
feeling of like, do you think I don't know? Like, it's this idea of someone feeling like they are exposing you to a truth that you've been burying your head in the sand about.
That too, for sure.
Fucking bizarre. I always
I think maybe if you're having a serious conversation about it, maybe asking why the person thinks so. And then if they bring up some issues and stuff that are TR or bullshit, then you can dispel that and be like, that's not true. Well, it's because of my genetics. That's not true. Well, it's because of this. Well, it's because of that. And then even if they say, well, my mental health, and be like, okay, so it's your response to your mental health. It's not the actual mental health itself. It's what you're doing about it. It's the coping mechanism. It's how you're handling your mental health issues. And then that might start to at least plant a seed. You have to understand that one conversation is not going to, it's not going to get somebody out of the TR. It's usually many conversations over, at times, even years. And it's usually like a slow realization, especially if they're as severe as Aubrey, which it's bad. If they're more mild, it's probably not going to take that long. It's just, but it's a different kind of question. It's kind of like, well, do you think that you could be doing like this constant cutting and bulking thing? Like, do you think it is a little bit of a distraction from other issues in your life? And it's like, oh, you know, and they could just think about it. You don't necessarily have to like, and I wouldn't just say that to everybody. I feel like people would use that too liberally. But if you're looking at somebody who's like really doing too much, and those swings within those cycles are really big or really drastic, then I think it might be worth asking the question, because the person might just not be aware. And even if you're just asking, like, is it necessary to do that? You see, that can be helpful, because you have to remember, you have to hit it with logic. You do have to hit it emotionally too, but the emotional side of it is more so like calm. You see? So like the way I asked the question, do you think it could be a little bit of a distraction, or like, what do you think this is? See how it's calm. It's not accusatory. It's not shaming. It's just asking a question. And if they, you stay, you keep your pitch kind of low, or not low, but like, you don't escalate the emotions with them. You don't. Even when I've yelled on this channel, which I have done sometimes, where I've gotten like really into it, like when I was reacting to Fab Fatties and stuff, I sometimes would yell and stuff. I would keep it cooler emotionally, even cold, because it's about the logic. So you're trying to get a person to think more with their logical part of their brain, because they're not. So when people are in the TR, they tend to be either suppressing emotion entirely, or they are completely suppressing logic. So if somebody is suppressing emotion entirely, emotional appeals will not work. You can only engage with it logically. So either way, it will work. And then if they're just totally a hot mess and they're very emotional, like getting them to even just consider the logical side of the issue, it's a lot. It does a lot for you. And again, you don't have to shame a person. You don't have to match their energy, even if they're being so annoying and so extra. You don't get there with them. If you're starting that conversation, you need to be prepared for an emotional reaction, honestly. So I think people just don't know what they're getting into a lot of the time, or they don't realize how much of a hot button it is. Understand that if you're dealing with somebody, especially as severe as Aubrey Gordon, it is a huge issue. Like, you're going into, she's probably going to have a shouting match type of vibe. If you're really hitting at it, she's probably going to be that angry. And that, I think, would be, she might do some unkind things within a lashing out reaction. Yes. But just saying, I'm going to get up and leave, that's not necessarily unkind. I don't know that she would do that, though, because she tends to, like, advocate for the TR, and she tries to, like, you know, constantly reinforce others. So I feel like she'd get in a big fight about it. And I think she's trying to act nicer than she is. That's just my opinion.
Watching this documentary about Marilyn Monroe recently and marveling at how just by casting her in a movie, I think it was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, right? And that was a sort of like part of the beginning of reinforcing the idea that blonde women are not only more fun, but they're also dumber. And she had to play a stupider person than she was because she is blonde. I don't know. There's less ableist ways of saying what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And I'll keep this in so we can all check ourselves. But we have this idea. The terminology they would use is stupid, but like what we'll say is less intellectually gifted or interested. And so they within a matter of like a short number of years were able to create a myth based on people's hair color that has gone on to haunt people for the next 70-something years. And the reason I bring that up is that surely via that, we can see how quickly and how expertly the media can create a bias that can go on to live relatively unchecked forever. And there's a part of us that kind of goes, well, obviously we don't need to do studies that prove that blonde people are as... But by the way, specifically blonde women. There was no shit about how blonde men are more fun and how blonde men... There is this idea that blonde women are more sexual. They are the sort of floozy, fun gal who you can't hold a proper conversation with, who you kind of have to baby and treat with kid gloves. How can we not look at that and see... Sorry. How can we look at that and not see how quickly these tropes and myths are created?
I think that there is definitely an obsession with media within the TR. For a lot of people in the TR, media is reality because media is repetitive and so is the TR. So it's kind of like if you see all these movies about a blonde woman being, you know, fun and dumb or whatever, and it's repeated over and over again, that's also how the TR works. And I think I might have just understood the connection because there's a lot of repetition in media in general. Media is a very, very repetitious thing, whether it's tropes in movies, whether it's news articles, whether it's whatever, even YouTube channels. You know, for example, like as a YouTuber, the way the algorithm is, it encourages repetition. It wants you to have almost the exact same title every single video because it's built that way. And then because of that, people's brains are built that way because everything is repetitive all the time. So you see the same types of headlines, the same types of movies, the same types of things because things become tropes. They become stereotypes. They become this kind of thing. And this can be weaponized, in my opinion, like especially it has been weaponized racially. I think that's where I've seen it be really insidiously used. I don't know if the blonde hair thing is that big of a deal. I'm going to be honest. I just don't. I think there's also a lot of stuff that, like, there's also trends where you can challenge tropes, you know, so I understand, like, fictional media can be, I guess, like, encouraging of stereotypes. That's true. But I think when we're looking at, like, you know, I don't know, like, it makes me think of, like, this is so old and I'm so dating myself, but it makes me think of, like, Ashley Tisdale and Brenda Song in The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, where they, like, switch the tropes kind of thing. Like, people do that sometimes. So, I don't know. Just as much as there's tropes, you can also challenge them, you know, is what I'm trying to say. It's not always going to be Bella from Twilight, the ultimate Mary Sue that has ever Mary Sued. Like, she is such a Mary Sue that Stephenie Meyer, as the writer, created a work of art by creating the perfect Mary Sue character, like the ultimate Mary Sue, with every single trope that could ever happen in a supernatural YA character. It was Bella, you know? But again, do we then take that and put it onto reality? Does every single new girl in a school have long flowing chestnut brown hair? No. You know what I'm saying? Most of us that are not in the TR, we can see the difference. I understand in today's day and age, media can be so repetitious that maybe we aren't as critical of it, or maybe we don't look at our sources, or maybe we're not, you know, maybe a lot of people, especially when you're younger, you don't think for yourself as much just because you're kind of looking for something to follow or some, you know, or you know what I mean? But in general, it's still different than like that's a different conversation to be had, is what I'm trying to say, versus looking at, does all that change the way that we consume food? Do you see how different of a conversation that is? Is a news article going to change how you eat? Typically, no. The vast majority of the time, no. Because media might create bias occasionally, or media might encourage biases that you already have, or honestly reaffirm biases that you already have. But it doesn't typically translate into action a lot of the time, as much as people would like, you know. So I do my best, especially people who are activistic. We do our best, but it's not just the exposure. It's also the message. It's also the actions being taken. It is the public downsizing, the public maintenance, the continuing of the journey when most people would stop. That is what is inspiring. That is what shows something. And then the logic behind it too, that matters too. But if I wasn't doing any action, it wouldn't matter. If this was a fictional story, it wouldn't have as much of an oomph to it. So I think that there is a difference between how people can have no media literacy, or just take something completely as it is, or not question a narrative at all. Or people can take a narrative and totally change how they eat. Like, they're totally different. They're both problems, but they're not the same problem. And one is a lot more common than the other. As Gen Z would say, Jameela, I hope that helps. Oh, that's not... Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I hope that helps, Jameela.
Absolutely. And I would say even underneath that one, there's like the underpinning of that feels even more pernicious, which is the message to men is to straight cis men is, if you experience sexual desire for a woman, you don't need to care about what she thinks or what she needs, and she probably doesn't know and couldn't tell you.
Totally.
Right? Like it's such a layered garbage message. Yes,
oh,
absolutely.
I mean, and the beginning of many. I mean, we know about the kind of like bigger tropes, like the ones about Black people or brown people or Asians. Like we're just like we're stereotype machines. But the one about blonde hair, the reason that I became so obsessed with that is that is to me as meaningless. I mean, they're all fucking meaningless, but that's so insane that it could be something like someone's hair color that led to people dyeing their hair color in order to seem a certain way, that shows us that the media just wants to sway us and control us. And I talk about, I mean, like entertainment, the entertainment industry just wants to sway us, control us, make us judge ourselves, judge each other. And it's creating all of these like arbitrary nonsense rules.
Well, like with anything though, entertainment is a choice. At least, you know, in some societies, entertainment is a choice. You can watch something or you cannot. So a lot of it is based on what you choose to watch. Also your expectations, how much you internalize. Like if I'm watching something like Resident Evil, they are some of the campiest movies ever. Am I going to take that so seriously that I'm going to change something about myself? Because you see all of these like like the main character's like fighting the zombies, and she does like these positions with the zombies that are kind of like low-key sexual and stuff for the hetero male audience that's watching it. Does that really do anything to me or make me feel like, oh, I have to change something about myself? No. Do I take it that seriously? No, I don't. So it's like, is it a choice that I watched it? Yeah, but what was I watching it for? I was just watching it to see a bunch of zombies attack people. That's all it was. You know, it's not that deep. I didn't watch Resident Evil for the plot. You know, I just didn't. I'm sorry if that hurts anyone's feelings, but I didn't. The same thing with, you know, honestly, a lot of the zombie movies, they're just kind of, I don't want to get into the weeds on that. But there's zombie movies in particular, I think they have to do with the catharsis of like seeing or trying to live vicariously through this feeling of like all the shackles of society being gone. And so then we just watch that, and you can like escape from that for like an hour or whatever, because you see like a complete collapse of society usually in zombie movies. But again, even with that, there's tropes, you know. There's genre expectations. So if she's talking purely fictional, then it's like, yeah, like even using the blonde thing, a writer's going to either use the fact that the woman is blonde to either say that she is not as smart, or to convince the reader that she isn't as smart, and then maybe subvert it later. Like it would become a a literary device. It's not like fiction is not reality. So I don't really like how she's mixing fiction and nonfiction. I don't think it's an honest critique, or it's either that or it's just really bad. It's just a very like piss poor critique of media, because you can criticize nonfiction media, you can criticize fiction media, you know, but they're not the same thing as each other. They're not. So it's like, can we just stop, please? I can't stand that. I can't stand when they use that. It drives me nuts. It's such a TR thing too. It's so brought up all the time.
Well, and I would say, like, listen, even for people who are not twirling their mustaches and like tying people to the train tracks, right? Like, not the full-on villains. I also think, like, listen, we're in a place where many media outlets are laying off journalists, right? And are cutting back on fact-checking staff, and are cutting back on like really critical elements of being able to do their jobs well. So even passively, like the opportunities for good and solid journalistic work are fewer.
And do you think that toxically ritualistic journalists had enough fact checking? Do you think that they were not allowed to run completely wild? Because I've seen plenty of articles that are insane. I've read them. I read them on the channel. There's a lot. I can't even imagine how many there have been throughout like the course of like 50 years. It's ridiculous. Even the stuff that you've written, Aubrey, has that been like super realistic? Like when you wrote an article about how you felt like you lost your friend because your friend lost weight, which is crazy, by the way.
And further between than they have been in a long time, you know? So.
Well, on top of that, it's also important to remember, and I've said this before in this podcast, But if you look on the side panels of most articles that you read from most newspapers, you will almost definitely see paid advertising that comes from the diet industry, whether it's weight loss injections, pills, detox diet shakes, all this different shit. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And so I urge you, whenever you are reading anything that seems skewed towards a more like medical, factual background, look at who the fucking sponsors are, because there's absolutely zero way that does not influence heavily what is being said.
Yeah.
And I would say really look and try to tell if the person writing it has a disorder. Because the amount that it will make the article more biased it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. Because it is the sun, moon, and the stars to the person that has the problem. It is everything to them, especially if they're severe. And they're spending all their time writing articles about it. I'm just saying.
Vital that you do that, because this is the only way that most media outlets are able to make money is via advertising, because very few are on subscription basis. So think about the fact that you are being fed actual propaganda, potentially.
Yeah, and listen, even if you stop short of propaganda, I think it's not unthinkable to consider a profit motive, right? That there is a profit motive, right? When we feel dissatisfied with our bodies, when we see how fat people are treated and want to keep, when thin people want to keep themselves sort of quote unquote socially safe from the treatment that fat people experience, all of that stands to make somebody some money and gain somebody some power. And it's worth checking in with ourselves.
Again, Aubrey completely ignores any health consequences, which is beyond delusional.
About that in particular. I mean, I think very famously to me, I don't know how famously to anybody else, but the person who owns the parent company for Weight Watchers also owns a number of snack food companies and has said publicly, I've got them coming and going. Whether they're trying to lose weight or they're not trying to lose weight, they're buying stuff from me, is a thing that dude is quoted as having said in Forbes. Like, this is not like secret behind closed doors, whatever murky internet rumor stuff.
Well, a lot of business people, they will try to cater to different people at different times or whatever. So I don't know. If people have multiple businesses, I mean, I guess you could see like if somebody was selling hair growth supplements and they also had a bunch of like salons or something, I guess you could see. But you can't guarantee that the person's going to go to both. You know, it's probably more of a joke than anything, because typically people that are buying the snack foods are not trying to downsize, you know, all the time anyway, at least not stereotypically.
This is just like, on the face of it, here's what's happening, you know?
Yeah, well, again, you and I touched on this maybe a year ago or so, but it also, because 95% of diets fail, I believe you said to me last time, and that really, like, think about that statistic for a second. 95% fail, and they're almost designed to fucking fail. And I'd like to like briefly get into the weight loss injections that have become huge recently, and it's so reckless to see so many women's magazines covering it. And it'll only be a matter of time before they start advertising it openly on their pages.
I'm sure they're going to just have the best take ever. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It's going to be so reasonable. It's not going to have any black and white thinking whatsoever. It's not going to demonize or idolize the medication. Aubrey, at this time, she was dancing around a lot. So I will be interested to see how she talks about it. But I'm sure Jameela will have a completely clear perspective of these medications.
But basically, these weight loss injections work. The ones that you're hearing as the skinny pen or the Hollywood weight loss craze. They work by creating so much nausea, constipation, physical cramps, sometimes pancreas and liver issues that make you unable to eat, that you then just sort of stop eating. And so you'd experience a lot of times very fast weight loss, in a short period of time, because you have stopped eating. You are starving yourself. Now, at some point, almost invariably, people who are not diabetic, this medication, if I hadn't said already, I beg your pardon. This medication is designed for diabetics. Now, some people who take...
Was that a reasonable explanation of the drug? I don't think so at all.
These have no issues with diabetes. They're taking it just for weight loss now because of this new weight loss injection craze. If you do not have diabetes...
Was there any bias? Did she have any TR bias in the way she described the medication? I would say so. So maybe we'll hear how Aubrey describes it.
This medication is especially dangerous for you, and it is unsustainable. Once you come off it, because you have brought your metabolism to a standstill, because all it's made you do is starve. It's not a miracle fat changer.
It's not a miracle, but if you do pay attention to nutrition, you're actually intentional, then you're not going to have a super horrible metabolic shutdown. That's not true. And you can keep the weight off, but you have to actually get over your issues. You have to actually do the work. And you have to maintain a routine, and you have to actually, like, I just did a video, or like that audio where I talked about it, what maintenance takes. A lot of people, they're not going to do it because you usually have to have a routine. You have to actually like keep things in check. You'll probably have to somewhat track. You'll probably have to continue to exercise and stuff. Those are a lot of things that people don't want to do. And if they're just taking the medication, not changing anything else, then yeah, they might not have downsized in a healthful way. Medication is a tool. It's not everything.
It's just starvation. It's a starvation tool that makes you not know you're starving. When the weight comes back on and...
No, Jameela, that's not what it is.
Then some, it is almost impossible to get off the next time, just so you know, because you have crashed your fucking metabolism. Mm-hmm. That is very classic in any quick...
Not true.
...fix method that we've ever seen. We've talked about the Atkins...
It's not inevitable. It's not an inevitability. If you lost tons of muscle, you didn't exercise at all, you have no protein going in, you got nothing going on, yeah, it's going to be bad. If you're not paying attention to your electrolytes, especially calcium, it's really important. Because again, your bones. So if you don't care about nutrition and you're just eating a bunch of chimichangas on Ozempic, then you're going to have a problem. And you might have a real whiplash of hunger because you might have some deficiencies. So that can happen. But you see, there are ways to prevent that.
So all these things, the 6 months in which it was normalized for grown adult women specifically, and some gay men, to live on water that had lemon, cayenne pepper,
and maple syrup,
and a little bit of maple syrup in it. And people were walking around, I remember it, people were walking around dizzy and being told that if they felt like shit, it was a good thing because that meant their body was really detoxing. With grown adult people at their jobs living on lemon water with chili pepper in it.
Oh.
Okay, well, fasts and stuff, they're not always TR. They can obviously be a part of the TR, but it's the same thing with a lot of stuff. You know, overeating is also not TR. Getting fast food is not TR, but they can be a part of it. Exercise is not inevitably TR, but it can be a part of it. Like, you're taking something and you're putting your own issue onto it. It is just a tool of the problem. It's not the problem itself. So I think she's having issues separating that.
Oh, this was a good friend of mine who I worked with did this at one point. Absolutely the kindest person I know in my life, period. Mm-hmm. Jessica, lovely. And she was on like day 4. We worked together at the time. And
for the record, I do not suggest fasting at all in regard to downsizing. There are other reasons to do it. There are spiritual practices. There are some physical benefits, but do not connect it to weight. It is not usually sustained. And there are a lot of reasons for that. You will have an appetite, what is it? Like an appetite boomerang effect. So I would never suggest that for sustained downsizing because, and then if you're hypo, I would never suggest it. Oh my God, please do not. Yeah, so, because, oh gosh, it's rough.
And one of our other coworkers...
Like, you're going to be a mega see you next Tuesday if you are hypolicious and you do that. It is bad.
Noticed that she was extremely on edge and was like, hey, it might be time to like have a meal. And she burst into tears and went, you don't care about my health. And I was like, okay, so this is no longer Jessica. We're in like invasion of the body snatchers mode. You are completely being controlled.
Yeah, it sounds like she's a little hypo-ish, which again, I'm pretty sure Aubrey is too. But it's funny for her to say that because that's kind of how the TR is in general, which that person might have been in the TR. I've told you guys it is kind of like a zombie infection when you have the TR because you do lose yourself in it. Like, there's a reason why people identify with it so much. It's because you lose your identity. The deeper you go, you lose yourself in it. And I wouldn't be shocked if that's, I don't know, it at least enforced my avoidance because to have traumatized myself, to lose myself so deeply in the TR, it does make me more fearful that I would lose myself in somebody else because I've lost myself before. And I think I just made that connection right now. I'm just full of freaking epiphanies today. But you lose yourself. And that's regardless of which one it is. You lose who you are. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's some kind of correlation between a fear of engulfment and the TR because you are engulfed. Let's face it. You lose yourself.
By something outside of you at this point. And that's what happens when you don't eat food.
Yeah, I mean, everyone got sick. Like, a lot of people got sick, and then other people just gained the weight in about a week and a half afterwards, and then some, and then found it very difficult to lose weight afterwards. These are designed to fail. The system isn't broken.
I agree with her that that kind of stuff is designed to fail. But that's also why it's used as a tool. Again, fasting, I do not suggest for downsizing at all. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad practice in and of itself. It can be helpful for some people, but I would not use it as a tool for weight. I would use it for spiritual reasons or maybe some type of cleansing purpose, you know. But you do that within reason, obviously. So, yeah, that's my opinion. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Let's continue on. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.